walls had been the only thing making this place bearable. How pathetic was that? Clinging to old school carols piped through the speakers of a cut-rate stereo? Behind the counter, the waitress pulled over a footstool and used it to reach the TV, sitting on a shelf high on the wall. She popped a VHS tape into the built-in slot. As if she felt Kitty watching her, she, Jane, according to her name tag, looked over her shoulder and smiled. "It's a Wonderful Life," Jane said. "I play it every year." Oh, this was going to make Kitty cry. In fact, that Jane had spent enough years here to make it a tradition, not to mention she had the movie on videotape rather than DVD, somehow added to the depressing state of the situation. That could have been a lot of Christmases. Jane wasn't young. Wrinkles had formed around her eyes and lips, and her curling hair was dyed a gray masking brown. Waitressing at Waffle House didn't seem like much of a career. A stopgap, maybe. A pay-the-bills kind of job on the way to somewhere else. It wasn't supposed to become your life. No one should have to work at Waffle House on Christmas every damn year. Kitty set her book aside and leaned back in the booth to get a better view. There were worse ways to kill time. She'd watch the movie, then blow this popsicle stand. Amazing what people left on their clotheslines in the dead of winter. It was a small-town characteristic he'd come to depend on. Blue flannel shirt, worn white tee, wool socks. He wasn't desperate enough to steal underwear and went without. He found baling twine in a trash can and turned it into a belt to hold up a pair of oversized jeans. The work boots he found abandoned behind a gas station were a size too small. He didn't look great. He looked homeless, with shaggy brown hair and a 5 o'clock shadow, 5 o'clock the next day. He was homeless. He only bothered because he felt he ought to. Walk through town and remind himself what it was like to be human. He wanted to be human. Wearing clothes reminded him. He'd loved his job. Raft guide in the summer, ski instructor in the winter. Stereotypical Colorado outdoor jock. He and some of the guys had wanted to start their own rafting company. He was going back to school, get a degree in business. Not anymore. David cleaned up as well as he could at the gas station restroom. The nice thing about stealing clothes off a clothesline, at least they were clean. He scrubbed his face, his hands, slicked back his hair, guessed that he didn't smell too awful, squared his shoulders and tried to stand up straight. Tried to look human. He regarded himself in a cracked mirror and sighed. He wasn't a bad-looking guy. He was young. He should have had his whole life ahead of him. But he looked at himself now and saw only shadows. His eyes gave off a shine of helplessness, hopelessness. Their brown seemed more amber, and something else looked out of them. He was trapped in his own body. He washed his face again, trying to get rid of that expression. He could usually find an evening's work somewhere, washing dishes or sweeping up, if someone felt sorry enough for him. Enough to pay for a meal, a cooked human meal. He hadn't yet resorted to panhandling. He'd rather run wild in the woods and never come back. Near the interstate, the minimalist main street of this small town seemed quiet for an early evening. No cars drove by. Only a couple were parked on the street. The only place open, with its sign lit up, was the Waffle House at the edge of town. The smell of the town seemed strange after his days in the forest. His nostrils flared with the scent of oil, metal, and people. An inner voice told him this wasn't his place anymore. He ought to flee. But no, he was here. He'd make a go of it. Trying to soften the tension in his shoulders, willing himself to stay calm, he headed to the restaurant. The bell hanging on the door rang as a man walked in. What do you know, another angel gets his wings. Kitty glanced over to see him, but his scent reached her first. Wild. The musk of lupine fur hiding under human skin. In instinctive response, her shoulders tightened with the motion of hackles rising. She sat up, her hands clenching, the ghosts of claws reaching inside her fingers. He was a werewolf, just like her. He froze in the still-open doorway, his eyes wide. Clearly he'd scented her.